It was a time before motor cars and electricity. The foot of man had not yet profaned the virgin moon, nor had inventors yet put together ships that navigated beneath the ocean's waves to the depths of the sea. In short, the old ways still lived on, at least beyond the cities, near the fabled village of Shamrock Cove, where our tall tale is set, and featuring the one and only Seamus of Whalen. Now, Seamus was a curious fellow, but then, aren't we all? He longed to know about life after death, and who doesn't? But, unlike most of us, Mr. O'Whalen did something about it, on scarifying All Hallows Eve no less. And worst of all, he lived in haunted Ireland. You see, Seamus thought that ghosts lived only in the mind and not out onto the misty moor. Unfortunately, the testing of that particular point of view meant rising off his comfortable chair by the fire and going up and out the door. He strutted out into the cold, wet, shadowy dark in the dead of night. He stopped often to get his bearings within the fog. At the mid of night, he topped a hill beneath an opalescent full moon. In the valley below, the iridescent mist gave hints of muted lights rising up the hill toward him. Now he could make out 6 monstrous shapes carrying something big and heavy between them. Seamus could not help but think, 6, the number of pallbearers at a funeral. They came ever closer to him up the hill, waving torches that were flickering in the wind. He could hear their voices calling something out, but he understood them not. "Oh, I'm afraid it's not Irish they're speaking, or English either. Perhaps it's not a language known to any Christian soul." When the grotesque brutes reached Seamus, they threw the gruesome thing they carried down onto the path. It was, of course, a corpse. "Care to know about death now, Seamus of Whalen? Isn't that right? Well, your infernal, daredevil curiosity has drawn us to you like an iron needle points north." Seamus felt not a drop of blood running in his veins. Every rib of hair that was on his body stood on end like the quills of a porcupine caught in a trap. He fell down onto the ground with fear, helpless with the terror that fluttered in his soul. The demons, warlocks, loaded the loathsome body onto his quivering back. The chest of the dead thing was squeezed up against his back and shoulders. The arms of the stinking dead thing were thrown about his neck. Seamus arose, foaming at the mouth like a mad dog. He cursed and he shook himself, thinking to throw the bloody corpse off his back. But to his consternation and eternal dismay, he found that the 2 hands had a stranglehold round his own neck, and the 2 legs was squeezing his hips firmly. "Oh, I swear to God and Peter and Paul and Mary and of course St. Patrick, did I cut the curiosity out of my heart with a pair of rusty scissors? If only I can come clear out of this danger." Carry this corpse to the abandoned monastery, the one by the castle. Then dig a grave and throw it in. If you haven't this job done by dawn, we'll kill you royally on this very hill. Then we'll drag you to the bottom where we'll murder you entirely. So bad it'd be, you'd be lucky to live more than a week. Never say it twice. I'm lost already. Good luck to me to find that old abandoned monastery in this fog. Go that way, you dim-witted nincompoop. Who is that tongue lashing me? It's the corpse, you lame-brained numbskull. Well, not wishing to get into idle chit-chat with a horror from beyond the grave, he set off. Seamus thought there was not a wet path, dirty lane, or crooked contrary road he had not walked that night. At last, through some withered trees, he thought he saw the remains of the old monastery. I suppose that there's a path nearby, but I don't see the way in this cursed gloom. As soon as he uttered the word, cursed gloom, the left hand of the corpse reached out and pointed. Go that way, you bone-headed ignoramus. Well, now, Seamus had many gifts, but he was not what you'd call quick-witted. Nonetheless, it was beginning to dawn on him why everybody likely murdered this unkind monster. He stumbled toward an old gate in an ancient crumbling wall when he saw them. Dozens and dozens of ghosts of all genders and shapes and ages. They danced on that wall like little clouds caught in a whirl of the wind. He could see their mouths opening and shutting, but among them all he heard not a word, noise, or sound. The ghastly hands about his neck began to strangle him, and the heavy fog rose from his ankles to up and over his belly button. No good could come of going forward or backward, downward or upward, or staying into the one place. Then, some invisible satanic force picked Seamus up, carried him through the air, and dropped him at the foot of an open grave. The corpse still grimly embracing his neck. Lightning began to flash about Seamus, and thunder beat like a pagan drum. The false light of early dawn struggled with the darkest part of the night. The fiery bolts continued, bright yellow and red with fluorescent blue streaks in it. The longer Seamus looked at it, the faster they fell, until at last it became like a bright, bold ring of flame. Seamus O'Phelan had never seen so exquisite and splendid a sight as this. Down fell the red, yellow, and blue sparks. There was never a color on the ridge of the earth that was not to be seen in that glorious fire. Lightning never shone, and flame never flamed that was so bright and so shiny as that. Seamus was amazed, and his spirit beat in time to the thunder drums. Its rhythm became his rhythm. His rhythm became his strength. He swung that corpse up over his head and flung it down into the open grave with the energy of a man possessed. Then he leaped down into the open grave, slammed the coffin lid closed, and bloody hands and bruised feet rained soft clay down onto it, burying whatever was within, for once and all. The sweet ring of day was appearing in the east, and the gray clouds was catching a soft rose color. The moon had set. There were no stars. No torches outside the boneyard. All Hallows Eve had come and gone. Now, many a wise man will gain a year's insights from the experience of but a single night. But with Seamus, wisdom always walked 8 paces behind his curiosity. He started off for home whistling a haunting tune about a ghostly ship through swollen, blood-stained lips. He began to wonder, what if he set sail next All Hallows Eve in a small sailboat? Might he not see sea monsters and mermaids? The one and only did remind himself, though, to learn to sail and to learn to swim. So there it is. You must live life to bring it alive, to ride it like a wild horse, and not corral life's mysteries in some library or saddle it in some book. I know. You and I say we're curious about many supernatural things when sitting by a warm fire. But unlike most of us, Mr. O'Phelan did something about it on scarifying All Hallows Eve, no less. And best of all, he lived in haunted Ireland.